what's the difference between a good guitar player and a great guitar player? Well, there are many aspects to this question, but one of the more overlooked topics to this is the ability to play with feeling, to convey exactly what they want emotionally, to put life into the music versus a more robotic approach. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about here today in this lesson. Hey, I'm Ali Jamal, and today we're going to look at the guitar and see how we can get the most out of this wooden box and really make her sing. So when someone says a person has a lot of feeling when they play their instrument, they're usually referring to a lot of different aspects coming together. For one, they're probably talking about their ability to control their instrument with ways such as volume control, timbre control, which is the attack of the note, the soft attack versus a more harsh attack, the phrasing, the dynamics, just to name a few. So when a player has mastered these elements of music, we almost forget for a split second that all that's happening is that they're actually manipulating the sound and controlling the sound in a way that makes us feel something. It could be a very powerful emotion or even a memory. And this is also a difficult thing to quantify. How do we actually measure this idea of playing with heart versus not? But the way I see it, playing from your heart or playing with feeling is a form of improvisation. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever seen a bad actor perform? He maybe said all the words on the script and enunciated all the words perfectly, just as it's written on the script. But the problem is you just didn't feel anything. The sentences in the script are just words. Any person can read those lines on the script in a monotone, robotic way without the inflection of the voice to get away with being called a bad actor. And so what happens when the actor reads a line and it's part of an argument between him and his lover and he has to be able to communicate the tension of that dialogue? When the actor needs to get certain emotions across for the audience to feel the tension. The script doesn't contain all the details and the little intricacies that bring the words to life. And these details oftentimes need to be filled in by the actor to really transform that blueprint on the page into a real human experience that we can feel. And with that, there's no difference when we're looking at a sheet of music. So for us musicians, when we're interpreting a piece of music, it's so important that we don't just look at the notes on a sheet of paper, but also learn how to transform those notes and bring life to them. So the music on the sheet of paper is simply a blueprint for us to express ourselves with. So all of a sudden, when you start focusing on these little forms of expression, now collectively they add up and make a big difference between a player who can really express themselves versus not. And all of a sudden, when you start doing this, you'll start to see a sequence of notes, maybe a 4-bar sequence of notes transform into an actual phrase, a musical phrase. And maybe you'll start to see an 8-bar progression turn into a musical theme. And this is the power of music, when we start to really express the notes that are on the piece of paper that we're learning from and turning those into a more human or a life experience. And so I'm not gonna lie, having control over these aspects of music can take years. It can take a long time to really make that become second nature and to make that part of your playing style. Because it's, as I said earlier, it's a form of improvisation that eventually just starts to take over without you even needing to think about it too much. Just as it can take, years for an actor to learn how to deliver the words on the script in a really realistic and a human way that we can relate to. Good actors don't just think about the words that are in the script, but also the meaning that we give it. All right, so let's get into some examples for you. I'm going to show you this first example from a piece of mine called Synchro Destiny. I play it slightly different ways depending on how I feel that day. But I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first time I play it, I'm going to play it really robotic and just as it's written on the sheet of music. So without any sort of form of inflection or volume raises or timbre shifts, nothing. I'm just going to play it exactly as written in one sort of monotone voice. Okay, so there was nothing wrong with the way I played it. It was still in time. All the notes were clearly enunciated and really played clearly. But now I'm going to show you what it would sound like if I added just a bit more of feeling into it. So that was a little bit different, right? So all the notes that I played were more or less the same as the first version. In this expressive way, I was really trying to capture what that song is even about. And this is another tip that I can give you. So if you're ever trying to interpret someone else's piece of music, try to imagine what the song is actually about. Now, of course, not all composers share what the story of the song is. I typically do. Now, this song is a love song. And because it's a love song, I feel that I can get away with a lot more expressive things by slowing the tempo down, right? Right from the get-go, I can really slow down the tempo. And what I do from there, notice right there, instead of playing the melody with individual notes, I'm actually doing this little quick arpeggiated run. Right, so this is a very effective tool because it creates a little bit more excitement in it, right? Again, I think about the notes that I'm accenting, the melodic notes. And then from there I go into the... Right, it's a very powerful thing to start doing these rolls. Instead of playing block chords with keeping all your fingers and thumb at the same time, I'm gonna do this roll. I'm doing thumb, index, middle, ring to give it even more expression, right? So if we're playing that, so one other form of expression that I didn't talk about too much is vibrato, right? So you can either bend the string down ever so slightly, down and up, or left and right, like this. That creates a really nice sort of expressive, sort of slight in tune and out of tune, again, ever so slightly, that it creates a bit more expression, right? So that's what's happening there. So as I'm going from that, but again, notice the phrasing of this. I'm playing loud, loud. So the melody is basically this, and then maybe to that note. And think about the phrasing that I'm using here. I'm really being intentional and purposeful about the notes that I'm trying to target to be a little bit louder than the rest, right? And now here, I'm gonna do this arpeggiated run again. Again, instead of playing, which still sounds good, I'm gonna give it more life by simply doing this thumb index middle. Again, right there, I'm letting the neck, I'm moving the neck left and right because this creates another form of vibrato that is not with the finger, but with actually the neck kind of going in and out of tune. That's a more exaggerated approach. Obviously, do this with your own discretion. You don't want to break your guitar. So as we're doing that little run, again, think about the melody note, open B string. I'm accenting a little bit more with the timbre. So the timbre, I'm choosing purposely to attack it a little bit more aggressively. Again, but when I say aggressive, I just mean a little bit harder without it kind of reaching the threshold. Can you see I'm shaking the guitar a little bit here more again to just get a little bit more of the vibration out of it, right? And now I'm going to do a rubato here. The rubato here is just kind of slowing down the tempo and also bringing the volume down at the same time. Now, these are very subtle changes that I'm putting into the song. And that's such a powerful thing because this way of playing, it's going to touch people's hearts, right? Versus their minds. Even if you're playing something very technical, you want to emphasize the melodic notes and think about these shifts of volume and also these shifts of tempo. It's a very important thing that I do quite a bit in my music, especially the more expressive pieces that I have written. And so having control over this part of music, I think, is also a reflection of you having control over your life in your real life experiences as well. You know, the way that I see this is taking the time to control these parts and these aspects of music, I think, you know, undoubtedly will also help you to control your own emotions in real life as well. I see this wooden box here really as a reflection of life and a lot of the things that we go through. And I think if you can cultivate it and maybe look at it from that point of view, it might make you have a deeper, you know, appreciation for that instrument that's on your lap. And I know it certainly has for me. This is my therapist. You know, I've been able to thankfully express myself through this instrument and thankfully make a living from playing music. And I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to do that and to share some wisdom here with you today. And hopefully this did help. Hopefully this information that I gave you here today is enough to get you thinking differently about music. And that's what I would want to do and what I would want from you to get something from this video here today. Alright, so thank you so much for checking out this video with me today. If you did like this video, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button below. It would really mean a lot to me and also help this channel grow. A big thank you to all the patrons at my Patreon page who actually voted on this topic for me to make this lesson. So without them, I would never have made this lesson to begin with. And if you'd like to become a member yourself, you can check out that link in the description below, where we talk a lot about guitar-oriented stuff. You can vote on the polls on what lessons I make next. I always post a lot of tabs monthly, free for my members over there. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, make sure you check that out. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today, and we'll see you in the next lesson.